The stepmother cut. The rural girl beautiful hair out of jealousy. The rich man loved her head. Before we dive into this breathtaking story, leave a comment below telling us which city and country you're watching us from. Stay tuned until the end. Simple life in the countryside. Roxanne Callahan, known as Roxy, grew up on a small farm in the middle of the United States. Her natural beauty was highlighted by her long red hair, which shone in the morning sun and became her greatest pride. Despite the family's financial difficulties, Roxy always demonstrated an inner strength that went beyond her appearance. She helped her father Eli with the farm chores and dreamed of a different life, far from the limitations of the place. Margot Hensley, Roxy's stepmother, was a bitter woman who never accepted the girl's presence in the house. Their relationship was marked by tension and small, veiled attacks. Margot saw Roxy's red hair as a symbol of what she could not have: youth, beauty, and the attention her father gave his daughter. Little by little, envy took hold of her stepmother, planting the seeds of resentment that would grow over time. Eli Callahan was a simple, hard-working man who always tried to keep the peace in the house. Although he loved his daughter, he felt pressured by his wife, who easily manipulated him. He saw Roxy's silent suffering, but he didn't know how to protect her from Margot. The farm, which had once been a place of unity, began to turn into a toxic environment, where fear and sadness went unnoticed by many. Meanwhile, Roxy clung to the hope of better days. She believed that her life would not be defined by the limitations of the farm or the cruelty of her stepmother. Her hair, to her, was an extension of her identity and strength, a symbol she did not want to lose. Little did she know that that hope would be put to the test in unexpected and painful ways. The stepmother's envy. Margot Hensley could no longer hide her resentment towards Roxy's beauty and natural brilliance. Every gesture the girl made, every smile, seemed to fuel the flame of jealousy that burned within her. She began to create situations to humiliate Roxy, always using her red hair as the main target of her aggressions. Small provocations turned into constant attacks, eroding the young woman's self-esteem. The stepmother manipulated Eli into doubting his daughter's abilities, painting Roxy as a rebellious and ungrateful girl. This psychological game deepened the family conflict and increased the girl's isolation. Margot believed that by taking away Roxy's pride, she could weaken her and thus control the environment on the farm. It was a silent battle, but with devastating consequences. Roxy, in turn, tried to ignore the provocations, staying focused on the tasks and dreams she still had. She knew she needed to be strong, but Margot's words and actions were wounds that hurt more each day. Even so, the girl still had hope that her father would one day recognize her true struggle and stand by her side. Tensions on the farm were reaching a critical point. Margot seemed determined to eliminate what she saw as the threat that Roxy represented. And the girl, although still innocent, sensed that something serious was about to happen. The fragile balance of the family was about to be shattered for good. The cruel cut. One silent night, while everyone else slept, Margot made the decision that would forever mark Roxy's life. With a pair of sharp scissors, she cut off the girl's long, silky red hair, leaving her with short, uneven strands. It was a cruel attempt to erase not only her physical beauty, but the confidence and pride that Roxy had cultivated. The act was silent, but its impact would be deafening. Roxy woke up the next day and, looking at herself in the mirror, felt a deep shock. The pain came not only from the cut, but from the feeling of betrayal and powerlessness. Her hair was more than just her appearance. It was part of her identity. The sadness seemed to sap her strength, but even so, she did not let the humiliation define who she was. Deep inside her, a flame of resistance began to burn. Eli was horrified to see what Margot had done, but once again he remained silent in front of his wife. Fear and submission prevented him from acting as he should have, leaving Roxy alone to face the pain. Margot, on the other hand, felt victorious, convinced that she had achieved what she wanted. However, the price of cruelty was about to be revealed. Despite the cut, Roxy began to realize that her true strength was not in her hair, but in her courage and character. She decided that this pain would be the starting point for a change. Something inside her was awakening to a different future, where she would no longer need to fear her stepmother or depend on anyone's approval. The unexpected encounter. A few days after the cruel cut, Roxy traveled to the city to take care of farm business. It was a rare opportunity to escape the stifling atmosphere of the countryside and breathe new air. There she crossed paths with Grant Whitmore, a wealthy and influential man who was immediately intrigued by the young woman's presence and bearing. Despite her short hair, something about Roxy caught his attention deeply. Grant was known for his business acumen and reserved charm. He saw beyond the surface and saw in Roxy a rare uniqueness, a combination of dignity, courage, and a sparkle in her eyes that few others possessed. Their conversation was brief, but enough to plant a seed of interest and curiosity. To Grant, Roxy was unlike anything he had ever known. Roxy was surprised by the unexpected attention, but also suspicious. She had learned not to trust easily, especially after the betrayals at home. However, there was something in Grant's manner that awakened a dormant hope in her, a feeling that there could be something better for her life. The encounter was etched in both their memories. For Roxy, it was a glimpse of a new possibility, and for Grant, a promise of something valuable that deserved to be discovered. Little did they know that their connection would be the beginning of a transformation that would change their destinies forever. First connection, Grant invited Roxy to a coffee at a small bistro in the city. During the conversation, he wanted to know her dreams and her stories, while Roxy felt, for the first time in a long time, heard and valued. The exchange between them was sincere and direct, without superficialities or false expectations. Grant showed genuine interest, not in appearance but in the person. Roxy told us a little about her life in the countryside, the difficulties she faced and the injustice of her stepmother. Grant listened attentively, impressed by the strength she revealed in the midst of so much suffering. For him, this young woman was an inspiration, someone who did not let herself be beaten down by circumstances, even when everything seemed against her. That moment was a turning point for Roxy. For the first time, she felt like she could trust someone and that she didn't have to carry the weight of her story alone. The conversation with Grant brought her unexpected relief and paved the way for her to start believing in a different future. Grant, in turn, began to see Roxy not just as a beautiful woman, but as a potential partner, someone with whom he could build something real. The connection between the two was deeper than simple attraction, and they both felt it without needing to speak. Internal conflict. While Roxy felt hope growing, her stepmother Margot would not give up. She intensified her persecutions, creating situations to further exhaust the young woman. Margot manipulated Eli, who was torn between his love for his daughter and his fear of his wife. This division left Roxy in a vulnerable position, caught between two worlds that seemed to conspire against her. Roxy knew she needed to take a stand and fight, but the insecurity and pain from her past still haunted her. It was hard to break away from her family ties and face her stepmother head-on. Even so, something inside her told her it was time to act, to seek her freedom and her own path. The tension on the farm became unbearable, and the girl realized that returning to that environment could mean a new defeat. The decision to leave and seek a new beginning in the city began to take hold in her mind, even if it meant leaving behind everything she knew. Margot, in turn, saw Roxy's absence as a threat to her dominance and planned new strategies to maintain control of the farm and the family. The battle was far from over, and fate had surprises in store for everyone involved. Decision to change. With a heavy heart, Roxy decided to accept Grant's invitation to stay in the city. She needed time to heal from her wounds and find the strength to start over. This decision was a turning point in her life, marked by the courage to face the unknown in search of dignity and hope. In the city, Roxy began to build a different routine, far from the humiliations and oppression of the farm. She knew the path would be difficult, but she felt that for the first time she had a true ally by her side. Grant offered not only protection, but also the possibility of dreaming and growing. Eli, though divided, showed support for his daughter, recognizing that she needed to step away to become stronger. Margot, on the other hand, reacted with anger and frustration, determined not to let Roxy get away so easily. The war between them would continue, but now the young redhead was ready to fight with other weapons. The future was uncertain, but Roxy felt that her story was just beginning. With renewed determination and hope, she prepared for the challenges that lay ahead, confident that her true beauty and strength would come from within, far beyond the hair that had once been taken from her. The new routine. Upon arriving in the city, Roxy had to adapt to a reality completely different from life in the countryside. The fast-paced routine, The sounds, the people, and the opportunities surrounded her intensely. She knew it would be difficult, but she also realized that there was room to grow and show her worth. The city brought challenges, but also hopes that she had never known before. Grant Whitmore introduced her to his sister Clara and friend Miles, who soon became important allies in this new phase. Clara, friendly and understanding, helped Roxy understand the dynamics of the urban environment, while Miles shared practical tips for work. The support network, although small, was essential for her to begin rebuilding her life. Roxy began working for Grant's business, which operated in the agricultural sector, but with advanced technology and modern designs. Her intelligence, dedication, and humility caught the eye from the start, and she quickly came to be seen as a valuable employee. It was a chance to show that her potential went far beyond her difficult past. Despite the changes, Roxy missed home and her father, but she also understood that she needed this separation to grow. The city offered possibilities and she was willing to seize them, even with the weight of memories and unfinished battles. It was the beginning of a new stage, full of expectations and responsibilities. Shadows of the past. Margot Hensley did not give up her plan to control Roxy. Although she was far away, her stepmother began sending messages and letters with harsh words, attempts at manipulation, and veiled threats. These actions sought to shake the young woman's emotional stability and make her return home on her terms. It was a cruel psychological game that required a lot of resistance. Roxy's father, Eli, was still torn. He loved his daughter, but his fear of his wife and the constant pressure kept him trapped in a life without the courage to face Margot. The distance between him and Roxy grew, and Roxy found herself alone facing the ghosts of her past. This emotional separation caused pain, but it also strengthened her determination. Roxy received the messages with sadness and anger, but she didn't let them get her down. She understood that Margot was trying to use guilt and fear as weapons, and she decided to stay focused on the present and the future. It was crucial not to let the past define her new path, even if the memories remained vivid. The shadows of the past followed her as a constant reminder that the fight would not end easily. But the young woman knew she had to move forward, strengthened by the new bonds and the opportunities that were beginning to arise. Her courage became greater than any threat, rebuilding self-esteem. With the support of Grant, Clara, and Miles, Roxy began to work on her self-esteem consistently. Each achievement, no matter how small, reinforced her confidence and showed her that she was much more than her appearance or a past marked by cruelty. This reconstruction was essential for her to be able to assert herself and face the challenges that would come. Grant encouraged Roxy to look at herself with more love and respect, recognizing her unique value. He showed her that true beauty came from authenticity and inner strength, and not just long hair or a perfect smile. These lessons became pillars for the young woman, who began to see her own reflection in a different light. Roxy also dedicated herself to learning new skills and improving her work, strengthening her independence. Each step she took was a victory over the marks of insecurity and humiliations of the past. The young woman understood that she needed to build her own path, without depending on the approval of others. Her inner transformation was visible and inspired everyone around her. Roxy became an increasingly confident woman, aware of her worth, and capable of facing any obstacle. This reconstruction was not just for her, but to show that no one can be defined by acts of evil. Grant's secret. As time went by, Roxy discovered that Grant Whitmore also had his own internal struggles. Behind his image as a successful and powerful man, there were pains and losses that few knew about. This revelation brought the two even closer together, creating a bond based on empathy and mutual understanding. Grant opened up to Roxy, showing that his life was not perfect, and that the weight of responsibility and difficult choices affected him deeply. This vulnerability was met with respect and support by the young woman, who realized that true strength also involves accepting one's own weaknesses. This exchange strengthened their relationship, showing that love and friendship can arise even between people who carry scars. Roxy came to understand that Grant's past did not define him, just as she also struggled to free herself from her own bonds. Together, they began to build a safe space where they could both be authentic and grow alongside each other. This emotional connection became a solid foundation for what would come next, demonstrating that true power lies in unity and acceptance. Conflict between worlds, Roxy felt increasingly torn between the simple, authentic life of the countryside and the luxury and complexity of the city. Adapting to this new reality required constant effort, and the pressure to fit into both worlds created doubts and insecurities. She needed to find her balance so as not to lose her essence. In the countryside, the memory of the farm and her father remained alive in her heart, representing her roots and her history. In the city, the opportunities and sophisticated lifestyle showed possibilities for growth and transformation. This duality became a constant challenge for the young woman, who sought to remain true to herself. Living with Clara and Miles helped ease this tension, as they offered support and understanding without judgment. At the same time, the relationship with Grant required maturity and adaptation, since the worlds they inhabited were very different. Roxy worked hard to build bridges, not walls. This phase was marked by internal conflicts, but also by important learning experiences. Roxy understood that she could be multiple, that she did not need to renounce her origins to embrace the new. Building this multifaceted identity was an essential part of her personal and emotional growth. An unexpected proposal, Grant, recognizing Roxy's talent and dedication, made a proposal that deeply surprised her. He offered her a formal partnership in the business he ran. For him, this was a way of valuing and integrating the young woman into a larger project, demonstrating trust and respect for the potential he saw in her. Roxy received the offer with excitement and trepidation. Accepting meant taking on greater responsibilities and becoming even more involved in a world that had previously seemed distant to her. It also represented an important step towards her independence and autonomy, opening doors to a future that she could only imagine before. Despite the temptation, the young woman hesitated for a few reasons: the fear of losing her connection with her past, and the concern that she was not ready for such a huge responsibility. These feelings were discussed with Grant and her friends, who supported her decision to go at her own pace. In the end, Roxy understood that this proposal was an opportunity for growth that she could not ignore. Accepting the challenge meant reaffirming her strength and showing that she was ready to leave positive marks wherever she was, without forgetting her roots. Visit from the past. The surprise of her father, Eli's unexpected visit, brought mixed emotions to Roxy. He came to town seeking reconciliation and apologizing for past mistakes, acknowledging the suffering she endured on the farm. This gesture opened a window for a possible new beginning in the father-daughter relationship. Eli told details about the situation on the farm and revealed Margot's cruelty and manipulation, showing regret for his passivity in the face of abuse. Roxy listened attentively, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. Knowing that her father understood the truth strengthened her to face the challenges that still lay ahead. Eli's presence also brought new concerns, as the stepmother prepared a final attempt to destroy Roxy's life. The young woman realized that even from a distance, the battle with Margot was not over, and she would need to be ready to defend her space and her dignity. This visit marked a crucial point in the story, as it brought hidden truths to light and renewed Roxy's commitment to fighting for justice and a better future, far from the shadows of the past that insisted on haunting her. The decisive confrontation, Roxy finally stood up to Margot, determined to put an end to the abuse and manipulation that had plagued her life for so long. With the help of Grant, Clara, and Miles, she gathered evidence of the cruelty she had suffered and the control her stepmother had exerted over Eli and the farm. This moment represented not only a fight for justice, but a reaffirmation of her own dignity. Margot tried to use blackmail and threats, but she found a transformed woman who was no longer intimidated. Roxy spoke firmly and clearly, exposing truths that could no longer be ignored. The young woman's strength surprised everyone, showing that fear had given way to courage and decision-making power. Eli's support was essential in this confrontation. Finally free from fear, he stood by his daughter, repudiating his wife's actions and promising to start his life over in a fair and honest way. This family union represented an emotional victory and a definitive break with the past. At the end of this chapter, justice begins to prevail. Margot sees her empire of lies crumble, while Roxy takes control of the farm and her own life. This turn of events represents the power of truth and persistence in the face of adversity. The love that blooms with the obstacles of the past overcome. Roxy and Grant were finally able to give space to their feelings for each other. The relationship that began with respect and friendship gained greater intensity, based on trust, mutual admiration, and genuine affection. The love between them blossomed naturally and strongly. They shared moments of simple but profound happiness, learning to balance the differences in their worlds. Grant showed his most human and caring side, while Roxy reaffirmed her independence and ability to be an equal partner. Together, they built a future full of possibilities. This phase also marked Roxy's recognition as a strong and capable woman, not only loved for her appearance, but for everything she represented as a person. The love she received was the result of her true essence, strengthened by the struggle and growth she experienced. The chapter ends with the promise of a path for two, where challenges will continue to exist, but partnership and love will be the basis for overcoming them. A new beginning, full of hope and shared dreams. New Horizons. Roxy took over the management of the farm with innovation and responsibility, bringing new ideas and technologies that ensured the success of the business. She became a local reference, inspiring other women to fight for their space in environments traditionally dominated by men. Her name became synonymous with strength and competence. In addition to her work, Roxy invested in social projects to help young people in rural areas, encouraging education and sustainable development. This commitment reflected her desire to give back what life had given her and help transform difficult realities. The impact of her actions went beyond the borders of the farm. Grant remained by her side as a partner and unconditional support, actively participating in the changes and planning a solid future together. Their union strengthened not only their personal lives, but also their professional success and the mission they embraced. Respect and affection guided their choices. This chapter shows that true victory goes beyond personal achievement. It is a legacy that transforms lives and inspires real change. Roxy was no longer the country girl, but a woman capable of changing her world and the world of those around her. A new beginning. Conclusion and invitation. Time passed and Roxy's story became an example of courage, transformation, and true love. The young woman who had her hair cut out of jealousy, but never lost her essence, now wrote her own destiny with firmness and brilliance. Her path showed that no one can extinguish the light of those who believe in themselves. Grant and Roxy were closer than ever, building a family based on respect, complicity, and the shared dream of a better future. The farm prospered, and with it, the hope that good can always triumph over evil. This was the message they wanted to spread to everyone who knew their story. If you enjoyed this exciting story, full of twists and turns and overcoming obstacles, don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to follow more inspiring stories like this one. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing content that touches the heart. Also, activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Here, we celebrate the power of transformation, love, and justice. Thank you for being with us so far. Until the next chapter of life.